Remember jamming to Guitar Hero with your friends at a sleepover party? Rhythm games popped up out of nowhere, and their beats seemed to fade just as quickly after companies overextended, and fans hungry for more migrated to less mainstream games, like arcade games from Japan. Some of these games tried to innovate by designing button placement like this, or even replicating actual instruments. I even found this insane arcade game that you have to play like this. And I literally had to check if waving your hands midair was part of the game. But even with these unique approaches, there's one thing that I felt defined rhythm games, almost chained them to a stereotype. You see, most rhythm games banked on one formula: avalanche the player with notes. I mean, it does kind of make sense, since playing an instrument is similar to that. But I always felt like the harder levels weren't really much of a rhythm game per se. As a player, I felt like I was desperately trying to prove that my hand-eye coordination and reflexes were as good as they were 20 years ago. But what if I told you there's an indie studio that decided that they would redefine the genre, choose to break the rules, and create a new kind of difficulty? It all started in 2014's Ludum Dare 30, a game jam where you're challenged to make a game within 48 hours. And according to YouTube channel Tricky Jeebus, what caught people's eyes was the only rhythm game out of over 1,000 entries that was created by the team that later became 7th Beat Games. But honestly, I wasn't convinced at first sight. I mean, it just looks like two balls rolling around. So how did it catch people's attention? Now, in order to talk about this, I have to digress a bit and talk about what makes a rhythm game great. Personally, I think there are two elements: the music and the button pressing. Look, I know it sounds dumb and obvious, but hear me out. First, the music. If you nail the music, it's so much easier to attract people, which is what made Guitar Hero stand out in the first place. Their licensed tracks brought in the crowds. The problem with this, though, is that you have to pay a hefty license fee to the artists, and some even theorize that Guitar Hero was discontinued because of this. Anyways, the little indie team we're talking about obviously couldn't do that, so they had to make their own soundtrack, which I imagine can probably go wrong in so many ways. But if you can pull it off, you never have to pay a license fee. It's kind of like running a shop on land you own. You don't have to pay rent. And honestly, the soundtrack is pretty good, so in the end it worked out perfectly. So they solved the music part, not phenomenally, but good enough to make it work. The next challenge was to get people to play the game. In other words, they had to make the game design, the button pressing, fun. See? I told you it makes sense. Anyways, how on earth do you make button pressing interesting? And that's where 7th Beat Studios stood out. They didn't make their game flashy or fancy like those Japanese arcade games. They stripped the genre down to its bare bones to make it really simple. So simple, in fact, that you only need to press a single button. But to make this fun, they required very strict input timings so that the player would literally have to follow the rhythm perfectly. Now that's a real rhythm game experience. And that was the birth of A Dance of Fire and Ice. And one more thing I love is that they decided to take 5 extra years after the game jam to finally release the full version. And the game is like 3 hours without the extra content. Honestly, I have no idea how they managed to finance themselves. But I mean, as long as they were okay with it, I'm more than happy to wait for a polished game. But you know what's even better about these guys? They weren't satisfied with one button game. So they made it their studio slogan. My question was, how do you make pressing one button really fun? Not once, but twice. And the idea they had was genius. Make pressing one button consistently really hard. And that was the premise behind their next game, Rhythm Doctor. Rhythm Doctor is all about testing your sense of rhythm. You have to keep hitting the beat while the game hurls a virtual train wreck at you to throw you off. Take a look at the first boss, for example. The theme of the level is that you're treating a buggy patient, so the screen lags and the notes jump backwards and forwards while you have to keep a steady tempo, which is a challenge. But that's not it. The music for this level syncs with the glitching screen, like this. See what I mean? The game tries its best to convince you that it's glitching up, and you have to stand your ground and focus on pressing that spacebar while counting the beats in your mind. And it's amazing because if you hit the beat perfectly, the stars align and the music, the beat, and the screen all harmonize, and it feels so rewarding. Come on. How is this not cool? And that's not it. I don't want to spoil anything, but each of the levels have their own unique trick up their sleeve, and the game is just teeming with surprises. Rhythm Doctor does everything in its digital power to catch you off guard. And remember, even with all that chaos, it's always the same rule. Press the spacebar on the beat. which I think truly encompasses the experience of a rhythm game, because the difficulty in Rhythm Doctor isn't about memorizing patterns or sight reading hundreds of notes rushing down your screen. It's all about staying coordinated and focused, like meditation, or even playing a drum. And the best part is that they're taking their time with this game as well. It's been 2 years since they released the early access version on Steam, and they've been taking their time trying to build a community of modders, and even designing a collab level with the game that's only in its Kickstarter stage. So you know it's not all about the money for these guys. I mean, maybe it is, but I'm completely fine with their take. And I honestly can't wait for the rest of Rhythm Doctor, and whatever the third game will be if there is one. Thanks for watching.